The research project we chose to discuss are industrial control networks. Our project team consists of Rad Rouzky, myself, Kennedy Thompson, Desiree Sanders, and Mehdi Elahi. Here is our agenda. We'll first start by talking about the introduction to industrial control networks. So what is an industrial control networks? These networks are also known as ICNs that manage devices such as PLCs, SCADA, and DCS. That is programmable logic controllers, supervisory control and data acquisition, and distributed control systems. Industrial control networks are a system of interconnected equipment used to monitor and control these physical devices in industrial environments. These industries include petroleum, power, pharmaceutical, hydropower, and chemical. So to begin our deep dive into industrial control networks, we'll start by looking at the network structure layers. The first layer we have is the field equipment layer. This layer includes the physical devices and equipment used in industrial processes. These devices include sensors, actuators, and controllers. They also collect real-time data and interact with the physical environment. The middle layer is known as the monitoring layer. This layer is responsible for collecting and monitoring the data from the field equipment layer. It includes systems and software that analyze and process the data to provide insights and control signals for the industrial processes. And then lastly, we have the enterprise management layer. It's also known as the enterprise layer, which simply is responsible for the overall management and control of the industrial control system. It includes systems for decision-making, resource allocation, and coordination of the entire industrial process. So now we will look at the security threats that affect industrial control networks. The original design of ICN didn't take into consideration the security of data transmission in the network. The control network lacked identity verification mechanisms, data encryption mechanisms, and detection of the data transmitted between the server and the client. Information technology also introduces Windows systems and Linux systems as operating systems for operators' workstations. These systems are vulnerable to cyber attacks. Lastly, different protocols are implemented in the field control layer and the monitoring layer. Security modules are applied in these layers due to the incompatibility of manufacturing devices and protocol diversity. Furthermore, most of the protocols are proprietary and non-public. Additionally, security threats increase due to fundamental gaps in protecting OT over IT widening. The deployment of interconnected systems and communication networks can become vulnerable to cyber attacks. Data integrity, which is crucial for making decisions, can have serious and devastating outcomes if not protected. Attackers can monitor the physical sensor in the industrial control system, steal the data, and tamper with the control input to an abnormal value. The attacker can also modify the sensor reading, and it can also be done through data injection attacks, which can also divide into data tampering attacks and replay attacks. ICNs can be vulnerable as the different network segmentations, integrations, and complexities of the system can introduce attacks or threats on the control system.
Hackers can take advantage of ICN vulnerabilities and use different attack vectors, such as physical attacks, which is the assumption that the hacker has hands-on access to the device or system and is able to destroy or change the components, allowing them access to sensitive information like passwords and key codes to grant them access to certain functions. Or malicious code injecting, where the attacker installs malicious software that exposes any vulnerabilities in the system that will allow them to have control over the system. Data leakage, the use of malicious software or finding vulnerabilities in the system to steal or sell confidential information. Routing attacks, when the hacker targets communication networks by promoting false routing information that will interrupt the flow of communication. Or DOS, An attack that is designed to limit the availability of the system for its design objective. Eavesdropping is when the hacker breaches the confidentiality of the communication using sniffing packets on the LAN or by interfering with wireless transmissions. Man in the middle. In this attack, the assailant targets each endpoint of the communication to act as if the attacker was the expected partner to receive the information. Breaking in a system. This act is done by breaching the authentication and access control objectives. The attacker gains the capability to command and change the behavior of the communication system and the connected plant at their choosing, including the ability to overcome confidential and integrity of sensitive information, as well as advanced persistent threats.
And about the industrial mobile IoT networks, they are actually increasing vulnerable to malware threats that can disrupt critical operations, compromise sensitive data, and endanger worker safety. Understanding the common types of malware and their attack vectors is crucial for proactive defenses. They're actually divided into four sections: the ransomwares, botnets, APTs, and backdoors and rootkits. The first one is encrypts and holds industrial data hostage, demanding payment for description. About the botnets, they infect mobile device and IoT endpoints, turning them into a network of uh, zombie machines. In the about the APTs or advanced persistent threats, there are still see target attacks that infiltrate networks and maintain long-term access. And the last one, the backdoors and rootkits provide remote unauthorized access and control over compromised systems. About the characteristics and motivation of APTs targeting IoT systems, we have persistence, stealth, and varied motivations. APTs are relentless, using various tactics to maintain access and avoid detection. Uh, Also, APTs employ advanced techniques to infiltrate and remain undetected within industrial IoT networks. And the varied motivations include the APTs that may be driven by political, economic, or strategic objectives, often targeting intellectual property or disrupting operations. Attack vectors and techniques employed by APTs in IoT environments includes the network's vulnerabilities that APTs exploit weaknesses in IoT protocols, legacy systems, and poor network segmentations. The supply chain attackers, in the case of this item, the APTs compromise the software or hardware supply chain to gain access to industrial IoT devices. And in the social engineering section, the APTs use targeted phishing, malware, and other tactics to manipulate IoT operators. The detection techniques for industrial mobile IoT are signature-based detection that is identifying known malware patterns and signatures to detect and block threats, the behavioral analysis, monitoring and analyzing device and network behavior to identify anomalies, and also the ML models that leverage advanced AI algorithms to detect even novel and evolving malwares. Here, there are some practices or countermeasures for securing IoT, mobile IoT deployments. The first one is multi-factor authentication, that is implementing strong access controls for all connected devices. The second one is endpoint protection, that is deploy advanced security solutions to detect and prevent malware on endpoints. The third one is network segmentation, that is isolate critical industrial systems from the broader network to limit attack vectors. The fourth is continuous monitoring, that is leverage real-time analytics and anomaly detections to identify suspicious activities. And the last one is employee training, That means educate personnel on cybersecurity best practices and report potential threats.
Here are some more security countermeasures. ICN security requires protection of all components. Defense in depth is a security approach that includes countermeasures at different layers to ensure comprehensive protection and make it hard for intruders to access the core system. Some defense in depth, we have data integrity, access control, intrusion detection, malware detection, and anomaly traffic detection. Data integrity. To protect data, it is critical to use data encryption to ensure the confidentiality and integrity of data in the industrial control system. For access control, it aims at preventing unauthorized access to the network. It includes the implementation of firewalls and policies. Firewalls can be implemented using a whitelist approach where only known and trusted sources are allowed access to the ICS network. Security zones are also commonly used in ICS networks, where the network is divided into different zones based on their security requirements. Different access control policies can be applied to each zone to ensure the security of the entire network. Intrusion detection. In industrial control system, it involves detecting, identifying, and responding to unauthorized operations or attacks. It can be categorized into misuse-based detection, anomaly-based detection, and hybrid detection. Machine learning and data mining methods such as artificial neural networks, association rules, and support vector machines can be applied for effective intrusion detection. So it includes viruses, worms, trojans, and other malicious code. Detection methods include anomaly-based detection and signature-based detection. Anomaly traffic detection includes monitoring the behaviors of applications and devices to find any unusual activity that is different from the normal routine of operation.
Here we introduce three existing defense mechanisms against APTs in IoT. The first one is network segmentation. That means isolating IoT devices and networks to limit the spread of APTs. The second one is multi-layered security. That means combining firewalls, IPS, IDS, and other security controls to detect and respond to threats. And the last one is proactive monitoring, means continuous monitoring and analysis of IoT network traffic and device behaviors.
Industrial control network challenges. Industrial networks face a lot of challenges when it comes to making sure the systems are secure with a high level of security. Starting with the lifespan of components, IoT devices have a longer lifespan compared to the IoT devices. This increases the need to maintain a high level of security of the devices and to update the software regularly. This is critical considering the age of the devices most have little to no security measures. The IoT deployment has seen a substantial increase. These devices have to be configured and managed, which creates the need for automation for operation and security measures configuration. The benefit of the IoTs is that there is a strong connection between IT and OT and to the internet, which allows for more efficiency and flexibility for industrial productions. With this, it is hard to separate devices according to their functions and restrict unauthorized access. According to NIST, network segmentation is a practical way to protect industrial control systems. ICNs play a vital part of the operations that does not allow outages and requires high availability. The process highly depends on data integrity. Even small changes could create a safety risk or harm. System failures and production loss by human mistakes increase the risk of creating accidental vulnerabilities and weak spots in the system. Sabotage done by employees poses a huge risk to the system. Introducing access control mechanisms can promote the network infrastructure to be more difficult to manage. Anomaly-based methods, going back to the header, countermeasures pros and cons. Anomaly-based method can identify anomalies for normal behavior, but it is high but it has high false alarm rates because the unseen behaviors may be identified as anomalies. Malware signature-based detection can be useful in mitigating risks from malicious software on all endpoints, that means for networks, servers, and devices, to detect and remove known malware signatures, but may cause issues if the malware signatures are unknown. Cryptography is a good approach to protect data integrity. However, the suggested symmetric and asymmetric proposed cryptography may not be suitable for IoTs, as they may not have enough power to support them. Implementing whitelists in firewalls may decrease latency of the ICs. Although intrusion detection is useful in identifying security threats, false positives or false negatives alerts can result in misconfiguration, and administrator might not consider the alarms down the road. The research gap and future work. Based on our literature review, we identified some possible future work that can contribute to more efficient industrial systems, as well as challenges that need to be further researched. For security measures, machine learning and artificial intelligence systems are a major part of exploration for the ways systems can gain enhanced detection and mitigate the detection and mitigate most of the security threats. By observing the supply chain within organizations, we can understand where and what cybersecurity threats tend to have the most significant damages. Supply chain attacks are extremely vulnerable, and countermeasures such as blockchain can help mitigate these attacks. Traditionally, developers use perimeter-based security techniques that simply are no longer efficient in protecting industrial control networks. It is important that the future developers and organizations adopt a zero-trust security architecture that sets and enforces access controls and enforce security authentication practices in order for users to verify their identity. Another area that needs attention is the development and implementation of enhanced security strategies to address vulnerabilities in industrial control networks, especially in the context of data integrity protection. Advanced detection mechanisms. There is a need for research on advanced detection mechanisms for identifying and mitigating data integrity attacks in industrial control systems, aiming to enhance the overall security posture of these networks. Exploring the integration of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and blockchain in data integrity protection for industrial control networks could be a promising area for future research. Research could be conducted on improving the resilience and recovery capabilities of industrial control networks in the event of data integrity breaches, focusing on rapid response and restoring operations. Future work could also involve conducting comprehensive risk assessments specific to data integrity in industrial control networks, and developing effective risk management strategies to proactively address potential threats.
There are also some emerging trends and future directions in IoT threat defenses, including AI-driven detections, that is advanced analytics and ML to identify anomalies and detect APTs. The blockchain security, leveraging blockchain technology to enhance the integrity and tamper resistance of IoT systems. And the last one, edge computing, that is distributed security processing at the edge to mitigate the limitations of the IoT devices. And at the end, as the conclusion, the evolution of industrial control systems, or ICNs, from isolated systems to interconnected infrastructure through the industrial Internet of Things has brought about significant advancement in operational efficiency and data management. However, this increased connectivity has also exposed ICNs to a myriad of cybersecurity threats. necessitating the implementation of robust security measures to safeguard critical industries and national infrastructure. By highlighting the vulnerabilities faced by ICNs and emphasizing the importance of proactive cybersecurity strategies, this research underscores the critical need for ongoing research and innovation in the realm of industrial cybersecurity. And that is the references of our research.
So this section is the presentation of articles. One of the articles that stood out to me was the Security for Industrial Communication Systems. This was published in 2005, and it explains that within industrial communication networks, there is an importance in maintaining platforms that can support extremely connected systems, which leaves room for cyber attacks on vulnerable systems. Industrial automation systems are based on open communication. This dependency on the communication systems also extends to giving opportunities for electronic attack methods to take damage as well. This leads developers to utilize applications of security. The concepts that fall under this can vary to include access control, security configuration, and integrity. With that, we find it important to discuss network segmentation as well as their potential to separate routes for data integration and administrative access that can show difficulty as well. Industrial automation or control systems are used in application domains. These domains could be batch, process manufacturing, discrete, electric power generation and distribution, gas and water supply, and transportation. Components can be distributed locally, wide area, or global scale. IT security issues in industrial automation systems are based on open lines within the communication system. The fundamental communication security measures involve access control, security configurations, and integrity. Access control involves setting regulations on access points for networks or resources. This protects the organization's sensitive information. Security configurations, such as HTTPS or TLS, transport layer security, are used to establish secure connections and encrypt data exchanged between communicating parties over networks. Integrity ensures the data remains unchanged and unaltered during transmission. Integrity mechanisms such as cryptographic hash functions, digital signatures, and message authentication codes are used to detect unauthorized modifications or tampering of data. So here we will get through the fundamental communications of security measures that fall under access control, security configurations, and integrity. First, we have encryption, which protects sensitive data that by converting it into a ciphertext that can only be decrypted with the appropriate cryptographic key. Encryption techniques such as symmetric encryption, asymmetric encryption, and hashing are used to secure data at rest, in transit, and within the application. Authentication mechanisms need to be robust, reliable, and resistant to both accidental failures and malicious attacks. Lastly, non-repudiation. This prevents parties from denying their actions or transactions after they have occurred. It is often used in situations such as legal contexts or for transactions. Additionally, it ensures that those who send messages cannot deny sending it due to having to go through an authentication process. Typically, it is useful in the e-commerce industry. Next, we have functional segmentation, security zones, and physical segmentation. Functional segmentation sets standards that certain systems require functionality in order to organize or divide the networks of the systems based on their designated responsibilities. This type of segmentation assists in providing all-around better manageability and security. Additionally, there is a heightened range of performance and security as the segmentations place barriers and control access between the groups. Security zones in industrial communication systems are created to maintain and protect important infrastructure, as well as the assets from external and internal cyber attacks. They also maintain control, connectivity, and safety of the operations. The security zones include the enterprise zone, operations technology zone, the demilitarized zone, maintenance zone, vendor access, and the physical security zone. Each of these zones must have implemented access controls, monitoring systems, and security systems to aid in supporting the industrial network. And then lastly, physical segmentation involves the physical dividing of networks or systems within the infrastructure into the security zones. Again, creating these tangible barriers between multiple sectors. It is often used in environments that need isolation and safety measures set between segments. And then finally, I found it important to touch bases on access control policies, unidirectional gateways, and segmentation based on risk profiles. Access control policies are a set standard or regulations that control who can access what specific resources and additionally the conditions of the system. With these policies, developers can be sure that all security measures are met to protect critical information, as well as restricting unauthorized access to the systems. Unidirectional gateways. They're also known as diodes, which are designed to source one-directional communication between networks while also keeping the data from flowing in the wrong direction. These gateways act as lanes for the communication to flow throughout the systems. And then lastly, in segmentation-based risk profiles, there must be a risk assessment, risk classification, design, access controls, and data protection monitoring systems. And lastly, a review assessment. This profile displays the risks that can come with assets, function, and data.
This is Rad Rouzky, and I'm presenting today presenting research on data integrity protection technology of industrial control network, published in 2020. The paper provides an overview of the importance of data integrity in industrial control networks. It highlights the critical role of data integrity protection technology in ensuring the secure and reliable operation of industrial systems. The paper sets the stage for discussing vulnerabilities and challenges related to data integrity in industrial control networks, emphasizing the need for robust protection mechanisms to safeguard against potential attacks and unauthorized access. Additionally, it underscores the significance of research and development efforts in enhancing data integrity protection technologies to address evolving threats in industrial environments. So industrial control networks and IT networks serve distinct purposes and have unique characteristics tailored to their respective environments. So in this slide, we're showing the purpose for the two networks as a comparison. For industrial control network, for instance, specifically designed to monitor and control industrial processes and equipment such as manufacturing systems, power plants, and transportation systems. Networks are critical for ensuring the efficient and safe operation of industrial facilities. On the other hand, the IT network are primarily used for data communication, storage, and processing in business environments. It supports a wide range of applications, including email, file sharing, and web services. In terms of information security requirements, industrial control network is more concerned about the integrity of data transmission and safety, while confidentiality of information and data is the primary purpose of IT network. Now we're going to talk about the characteristics of the industrial control network and the IT network. For the industrial control network, It emphasizes real-time operation and control. Often utilizes specialized protocols like Modbus, Profibus, or DNP3. Requires high reliability and availability to prevent downtime and ensure safety. It operates in isolated or air-gapped environments to reduce the risk of cyber threats. When it comes to the IT network, it focuses on data exchange, information sharing, and business operations. It relies on standard networking protocols like TCP/IP, HTTP, and SMTP. It prioritizes data confidentiality, integrity, and availability. It's connected to the internet and other external networks, increasing exposure to cyber risks. When it comes to security concerns, the industrial control network is vulnerable to targeted attacks that can disrupt operations or cause physical harm. Security breaches in ICN can have severe consequences, including production losses and safety hazards. It requires specialized security measures to protect against threats specific to industrial environments, such as malware targeting SCADA systems. For the IT network, it faces a wide range of cyber threats, including malware, phishing, and ransomware. Data breaches in IT networks can lead to financial losses, reputational damage, and regulatory penalties. Security solutions for IT networks focus on data protection, access control, and network monitoring. In summary, while both industrial control network and IT networks play crucial roles in modern organizations, they differ in their objectives, operational requirements, and security considerations. To effectively solve the data security problem in the industrial control network, it is necessary to understand related theories and technologies according to the requirements of data integrity protection in industrial control network. Understanding these distinctions is essential for implementing effective security measures tailored to each network's unique characteristics and vulnerabilities. The threats faced by industrial control networks. Threats in industrial control networks pose significant risks to the operation and safety of industrial systems. The threats are becoming more relevant with gradual integration of IT network. When it comes to the strategy or security strategy, often incomplete, inaccurate, or inexistent or non-existent information security documents in ICN, and the security policies which describe the systems are also unreliable. Windows systems, Linux systems, and other operating systems are widely used as operating systems on operator workstations. Attackers can launch various security attacks through some common security vulnerabilities in these systems. When it comes to data transmission, security was not a prime consideration in the design of the earliest ICN, as was the security of data transmission. ICN lacked identity verification mechanism, data encryption mechanism, and detection of the integrity of the data transmission between the master and the slave stations. As an example, Modbus protocol is one of the most widely used industrial control system protocols, but it lacks a mechanism to verify the legality of data. In the communication process, data is transmitted in plain text, and there is almost no strong authentication mechanism and integrity detection mechanism. For data integrity attacks, there are several of them, and so attacks based on the data integrity vulnerabilities of the protocols. The attacker or attackers can steal the state data of the physical sensor by monitoring the physical sensor in the industrial control system. The attacker can read and calculate the relevant information of the control input and tamper with the control input to an abnormal value. To match the tampered control input and operating state, the attacker will also modify the sensor reading. The data injection attacks are the most common data integrity attacks in ICNs. So they are divided into two parts. There is tempered attacks and reply attacks. The tempered attacks also are divided into indirect attacks and direct attacks. The indirect attacks method is a tampering attack on the sensor measurement value. The attacker will tamper with the sensor measurement value, which indirectly affect the system control variables, thereby causing the target system to deviate from the normal state. The direct attack, on the other hand, the attacker will directly modify the normal value of the control variable to make the system deviate from the normal working state. For the reply attacks carried out this attack is carried out in two steps. First, attacker will capture the control data packet sent by the master station, and then repeatedly send the stolen data packet to the target receiver within the allowed delay time. After the target device receives the replayed data packets, it will take them as legal input and repeat the previous instruction, which will prohibit it from allocating system resources to perform current operations that should be performed, which damages the normal production process of the system. Data integrity attack detection methods. The paper proposed several methods, and so for detecting data integrity attacks in ICN is crucial for maintaining the reliability and security of critical infrastructure. Examples from model based on decomposing measurements error into normal error and outlier error to build an anomaly detection model based on multi-level classifications. This provides a solution for ICN against data injection attacks. The other method is real-time detection, online detection. It is based on the real-time status of the system. Algorithm to improve the safety and detection efficiency of the industrial control systems. Compared with the offline detection algorithm, this algorithm can react more quickly to abnormal behaviors in ICN. Then there is the modeled attack behavior which is modeled as a finite state hidden Markov model from the perspective of the attacker and constructed the joint state estimation and attack estimation problem based on this by solving the problem of to detect attacks. Data analysis methods. The paper addressed this, and the paper mentioned that the increased complexity of the ICN brought detection algorithms based on data characteristics to the forefront when studying attack detection ICN. Some approaches that proved to be successful included machine learning and the method of state quantity estimation proved a significant efficiency in data injection attacks detection on smart grid. The reinforcement learning, which is the algorithm detects abnormal behaviors in the system in the current state by comparing it with previous system measurements. Real-time online anomaly detection algorithm based on deep learning, which can effectively improve the detection efficiency of data injection attack in ICN. And then there is the unsupervised anomaly detection algorithm based on mean clustering. This algorithm provides a reliable solution for distinguishing between normal data and attack data by clustering the data under attack and normal data. In conclusion, ICN is critical to the nation's information infrastructure, and its protection from cyber attacks is mandatory. ICN has many vulnerabilities. If exploited by attackers, can have a serious impact on the nation's infrastructure. Significant difference between ICN and IT network, while IT security is concerned with the confidentiality, ICN prime concern is data integrity and safety.
This is Mehdi. My selected topic is SEC blockade, security threats in blockchain edge-based industrial IoT networks. SEC blockade explored the intersection of blockchain and edge computing in the industrial IoT landscape. This presentation will delve into the security challenges and solutions for the innovative technology convergence. Blockchain edge-based industrial IoT networks have some definitions. The first one is blockchain for IoT. That is, the blockchain provides a distributed, secure, and transparent ledger to record IoT data and transactions. The edge computing for IoT brings data processing and analysis closer to the source, reducing latency and improving efficiency. And the convergence integrating blockchain and edge computing in IIoT networks enables real-time data integrity, automation, and resilience. There are some security threats in blockchain edge IIoT. The first one is endpoint vulnerabilities. That is, insecure IoT devices can be exploited as entry points for attackers. The second one is data integrity risks. Tampering with sensor data or blockchain records can disrupt the operations. Network attacks, distributed denial of service, and other network level attackers can cripple IoT systems. And the last one, privacy concerns. Unauthorized access to sensitive industrial data can lead to breaches and loss of competitive advantage. Threat modeling and risk assessment. There are 4 parts. The assessment identification identify critical IoT assets, including devices, data, and infrastructure. The threat identification means determine potential security threats based on the IoT ecosystem and technology stack. Vulnerability assessment evaluates the susceptibility of IoT components to known vulnerabilities. And the risk analysis assess the likelihood and impact of successful attack to prioritize security efforts. Secure blockchain edge IoT architecture divides into 3 parts. The secure edge nodes deploy hardened IoT devices with secure boot, firmware updates, and access controls. The second, distributed blockchain, implement a permissioned blockchain network to ensure data integrity and non-repudiation. And the last one, secure communications, establish end-to-end encryption and authenticated protocols between edge nodes and the blockchain. In the case of the blockchain-based security mechanism, we had there are 4 components: the access control, data integrity, automation, and auditing. We covered the 2 first, and the third one is automation, means the smart contracts to automate security policies and responses on the blockchain. And the last one is auditing, means transparent blockchain records to enable comprehensive auditing and compliance monitoring. The edge computing security considerations is the secure enclaves, means hardware-based secure to protect sensitive data processing at the edge. The lightweight cryptography means efficient encryption algorithms to secure data in motion and at rest on edge devices. And the last one is anomaly detection, means ML-based monitoring to identify and respond to suspicious activities in the edge nodes. And for conclusion, the future directions, there are 4 different parts, means strengthening the security, the privacy preservation, the scalability and resilience, and the regulatory compliance. The first one is ongoing research and development to address evolving security threats. The privacy preservation means exploiting privacy-enhancing technology. The scalability involves developing scalable and fault-tolerant blockchain edge architecture. And the regulatory compliance means aligning blockchain-age IoT security with industrial standards and regulations to ensure legal and ethical practice.
Hi, I'm Desiree, and I will be reviewing the challenges and opportunities in securing industrial Internet of Things, published in 2021. The authors first began this paper by defining the Internet of Things, or IoT in short. The IoT is the assembly of connecting devices with each other in the Internet, mostly consisting of sensors, controllers, and automated home appliances. The IoT has joined with other domains like the industry sector and is referred to as the industrial IoT or Industry 4.0. Who uses the industrial systems? Power plants, oil and gas facilities, and many manufacturing companies. Why is it important? Created to move large amounts of data for big companies and facilities at a high rate of speed with increased flexibility and enhanced processing. Why is the IIoT at risk? The IIoT holds a lot of sensitive and confidential information that hackers could use for their own personal gain. Next, the writers detail some of the security threats and issues the IoT faces. At the perception layer, which is the interface between the physical world and IoT devices, a DOS impersonation and a physical attack could happen. With the network layer, which interconnects the devices to the internet, you could have a DOS, routing attack, or man-in-the-middle attack. With the application layer, which allows the transfer of data throughout the different applications, there could be a DOS, data leakage, and code injection attack. After their research, they have found a few preventive countermeasures that could work if these issues arrive. For key management, a key is required, needing for encrypted messages and communication. With user and device authentication, it requires all users and devices to provide evidence that they are exactly who they say they are. Multi-factor authentication could be used for users, while fingerprinting or Face ID could be used for devices to allow access. Authorization and access control. This countermeasure helps with all three layers of attacks by limiting the access of the system for users or devices to certain areas. For example, if an employee is only allowed to be on a certain area, it will not allow them control to another area without authorization. Privacy preservation. Protects confidential information from other people. For example, employee medical data and other sensitive personal info. With awareness training and assessment, you can be aware of the potential security threats and risks, recognizing the need for implementing security measures to stop attacks before they occur. Unfortunately, with these countermeasures, there are some challenges that were mentioned in the paper that could have an impact on securing the IoT properly. The age of components. Old equipment and components need to be updated regularly to ensure the security. With errors and sabotage, mistakes can happen and cause damage, as well as employees who intentionally destroy the system, mostly for their personal financial gain. Multiple devices on the network makes it harder for security, as all new connected devices must be configured and deployed. And data confidentiality. A lot of data is passed throughout the device on the network. Data will need to be guarded from unauthorized users. In conclusion, the industrial Internet of Things is made up of a lot of devices, sensors, and networks. With the IoT emerging, the need for security is important. Attacks at the perception, network, and application layer will weaken the system's security. Key management, user and device authentication, and authorization controls are some distinctive ways that can secure the industrial IoT. Through their research, the authors learned that a wide range of countermeasures are needed to stop attacks from being successful against the system. However, challenges may arise that would cause conflict with these measures. The age of components, data confidentiality, and number of devices make it harder to have an effective security. Challenges and threat opportunities are bound to come as the IoT continues to advance. In the future, researchers must continue to find ways to battle attacks and potential threats as IoT emerges.